Hello, everyone, and welcome to my live broadcast. My name is Dahna-Esther, and I am the founder of Release Me. Over the last couple of weeks, I would say the last 2 weeks, I have been going live with some amazing women. And tonight, we are talking about faith, womanhood, and hormones. So as we know, there are various issues that affect women, okay? We know that over the last, maybe I'll say last couple of years, there's been a lot of highlights coming out about various issues, such as PCSOS, PCOS, endometriosis, adenomyosis. And I just took the liberty because I knew I was having an expert on here tonight to talk about hormones. And so one of the things we are going to be talking about is obviously hormones, in the female body, okay? And I found that there are three main, not just only three, but the three main hormones in a woman's body is estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so when those hormones are out of balance, there are certain health issues that we start to experience, as women. And so today we have, or shall I say this evening, still daylight outside, we're now in British summertime, glory. Okay. And as usual, I always forget Instagram. So let's go live there. Praise him. Okay, so whilst Instagram is catching up, so tonight we have Leighsa Kelly, who is the founder of Leighsa Mari Skincare, a wellness brand dedicated to toxin-free skincare and endocrine health. After facing her own fertility challenges, she discovered the hidden impact of toxins in everyday products and turned that discovery into a mission. Through her brand and educational workshops, Leighsa helps people make informed skincare choices, empowering them to reduce their toxic load and embrace cleaner living. She's also the founder of the ICU community, supporting individuals navigating fertility struggles, baby loss, and hormone health challenges. Leighsa is passionate about advocacy, education, and creating a holistic approach to wellness. So ladies and gentlemen, because I know some of you are watching, please put your hands together virtually for Leighsa Kelly. Hello, Leighsa Kelly. How are you today? Thank you so much for agreeing to be on my broadcast. Thank you.
Hey, Dahna, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. It really is. And I just want to take this time as well to welcome Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I know you're still joining, but we're not going to waste any more time because I'm excited to learn about faith, womanhood, and hormones. So Leighsa Kelly, let us go straight into tonight's interview. I know I just gave, your very beautiful bio, but tell the people, tell the woman, who is Leighsa Kelly?
Who is Leighsa Kelly? Yeah, so thank you again for that lovely introduction. So yes, as you've mentioned, I am a wellness entrepreneur, and I'm also a reproductive health advocate. And as you mentioned, the founder of Leighsa Mari Skincare. As you mentioned, it's the brand that's formulated, it's toxin-free, 100% toxin-free. I don't have any chemicals, parabens, or phthalates in any of my products. And the aim of this brand is to sort of support hormonal balance and overall well-being. My journey started with my own reproductive health challenges. So I had infertility for years. And it led me to discover that a lot of the products that we use nowadays, whether it's personal care products or just household products, are absolutely, we use the word riddled with toxic chemicals. And that was impacting my fertility. That was, preventing me from getting pregnant. So now it's my mission to sort of share my story, my experiences with other women or couples who are going through something similar, so that I can support them or empower them to kind of make informed choices about, their reproductive health and the products that they use, but also to support them in their overall well-being. And as you mentioned, I do have an ICU community. And the reason why I created that was because when I was going through my own challenges, I wanted that space where I could share what I was going through, to speak to someone who understood what I was going through, right? And so what I had found is, particularly in our culture, not many people speak about reproductive health or infertility. I don't know why, but it seems to be a taboo. And we want to come out like, we're strong and, and perfect. And that's definitely not the case. So this community group is a place for men and women to come together, to share your own, challenges, to lean on the experiences of other people, to learn from others, but it's a safe space where we can kind of come together and share and grow.
Wow. Amazing. So I want to hear, I know we're here to talk about faith. Obviously, yeah, we're here to talk about faith, womanhood, and hormones. So I want to, tell me a little bit. I want to learn about your journey to finding Christ. Like, what was the journey like, in becoming a Christian?
So I actually grew up knowing God from quite a young age, and I'm laughing because I was literally dragged to church as a child, kicking and screaming by my grandparents, until I became of age when I decided that, I didn't want to go any longer. But then I think my actual relationship with God grew during the time that I was infertile. I would pray from time to time, ask him to, as you hear in the Bible, open my womb, God, help me to get pregnant. But when it really solidified was when I had my losses. And so I've had a pregnancy at 5 months that I lost to my daughter Tia. She was stillborn because my cervix had opened, so my waters had ruptured. And then I also had a second natural pregnancy. So for someone who struggled for years with fertility, I got pregnant twice naturally, right? First one I lost at 5 months. The second one, I had exactly the same experience at 5 months of pregnancy. And I'd gone to the consultants and said, look, something's just not quite right. I'm getting that same sensation as before. And unfortunately, I allowed them to convince me that everything was okay and I was making a mountain of a molehill. Just, relax and everything will be fine. And unfortunately, a week later, my cervix opened, it ruptured, I lost the waters on the baby. And I was in hospital for 5 weeks, trying to keep the baby in. I got to the stage where I remember the day distinctly because my parents and my family were there in the hospital with me that day. I remember saying to them, guys, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm going to just rest up. So if you guys can just leave me to it type thing, and they're like, oh, no worries, you relax. And then I called the nurse and I said, look, I'm in pain. Can you just check me just to make sure everything's okay? And she didn't. She was very reluctant and she went away. She came back and she literally just threw 2 paracetamols at me. So I took the 2 paracetamols and then half an hour later, I was still in pain. I said, look, something's just not right. You have this innate feeling, Dahna-Esther, like when you just know, right? And I just said, look, something's not right. Can you just check? So she did, reluctantly, as I said. And then I'm looking at her facial expression because I'm trying to find out what's going on. I just saw the blood drain from her face. And then she slammed the emergency button on the wall. The team just came rushing into the room. And before I knew it, they were wheeling my bed down the corridor, telling me that I'm going to have an emergency cesarean. The baby's umbilical cord had been trapped in my cervix, and so he was being starved of oxygen. And so, I ended up having a cesarean. It was quite a few hours of surgery. And then the baby was placed in neonatal care. So he's put in an incubator in neonatal care. And it was that time whilst I was there that I hadn't spoken to a friend in quite some time. And she just reached out to me and she's a woman of God, powerhouse. Like she just prays like, the heavens open when she prays, one of those kind of friends. And she said to me, I need to see you. You okay? And I was like, I'm actually in hospital, with my son. So she came up and she would pray with me and she would bring oil and bless his incubator and bless him. And so I guess you could say she kind of reignited my relationship with God again, She invited me to church. And so that was like a real, it was exactly what I needed at that time, to be surrounded by faithful people who could pray for me and pray with me. And so my son, he lived for 2 months in neonatal care before he passed. And interestingly, what had happened was we'd prayed, my friend and I, and we'd said, look, Lord, just heal him. Because we'd already had conversations with the consultants who'd said, we're seeing signs of brain damage. He's got black spots on his brains, which indicate that parts of his brain had died. So I said to God, and I'm going to be very transparent with you and say, I said to God, I don't think I could manage a child with learning difficulties. I think I would struggle. I'm going to be open and honest and say that. I know there's many great parents who do, but I didn't think I could do it. And so The next day I was praying on the way to the hospital because I would go up every single day to express the milk to feed him. And I said to God that day, Lord, I'm struggling. I don't know if I can do this, because when you have a baby in neonatal care, you don't know whether or not that baby's going to make it for the night. So you actually don't really sleep. You're waiting for that phone call, right, from the nurses. And I said to Lord, I'm tired. I'm so tired. If you're going to heal him, just heal him. And if you're going to take him home, just make sure that, both myself and my partner, his father, were there. Dahna-Esther, the next day, no word of a lie, the very next day, we both went to the hospital because he said he'd come up with me that day. And as we walked into the suite, the neonatal suite, the nurses and things were around his incubator, and there was a few of them there. And you kind of get this sense, you just feel like, something's not quite right. And they were really struggling. Neonatal babies have, many of them have support. So they have air support. They have a tube that goes in through their nose and down into their lungs. And they might have feeding support as well. And they were trying to get his air tube in or to replace it, put a new one in. And they were there for a while. And they were like, all I heard was one woman say, we're losing him. And I was like, what? And I was like, give me my baby, because like literally what I prayed about, right? The night before, I was like, give me my baby. And he died in my arms, and it was it was a dark time because I felt so guilty. I prayed that prayer the day before, and I thought, oh my God, had I not prayed that prayer, would he have lived a bit longer? But to be quite honest, he fought a good fight. I fought a good fight. And I don't think either one of us had any more in us, And that was really where I saw God show up for me. Because in those broken moments, I had suicidal thoughts. I'm going to be open and honest. I never ever thought I'm strong-charactered. When you hear of people having suicidal thoughts, I just used to think, oh my God, how did they get there? Until it happened to me. Until I sat in my car trying to work out how I was going to take my own life, And I just experienced God's love. He helped me to heal. He gave me peace. And look, I'm not saying it was overnight, right? Because obviously healing is, it takes a long time. But he gave me the peace that I needed to get through that time, that tough time. And of course, when I had to think back, I was one of those women who made it through cesarean. Like you hear about 1 in 4 women who die in childbirth, So I just give God all the glory for just, getting me through that tough moment.
Wow. I love how you spoke about, obviously going through that trauma and how you were able to draw closer to God. Follow-up question, and I know this is not necessarily in the questions that I sent you, but what kind of support did you pursue any sort of support after you encountered this trauma, in terms of faith or even therapy, psychological?
Well, I really immersed myself in the church, probably to the detriment of my relationship, actually, to be fair. But yeah, in terms of therapeutic support, they offered counseling, which I didn't actually take. And I think at the time, the reason why I didn't take it was because I felt that as a Black woman, I'm meant to be strong and I didn't need counseling. And as awful as this sounds, I felt at that time that counseling was for people who are mentally broken, right? I felt it was for people who had mental challenges, and I didn't understand at that time that counseling was there to support me in the way that I needed through bereavement. And there was also the counselors that I felt were available to me. I didn't believe that they would understand or appreciate my culture. So at that time, that's the reason why I didn't go for counseling. Now, I did go for counseling at a later time, actually after I got divorced, but I didn't go for counseling at the time of my losses. And so do I believe it was, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. And I had decided, because at the time of those losses, I recognized that my family were not doing very well, right? I was broken. I'm like the matriarch of my family. I was broken and they were broken. So I then decided I'm going to just put on this brave face and make everyone think I'm okay, because I wanted them to be okay. And so what I would do was I'd like, guys, what's happened has happened. We've got to move forward. Life goes on. That's what we're going to do. And then in my own quiet time, I would just cry. I'd cry out to God. I would just be so angry and hurt, angry with him. And that's kind of, you know, how I was able to pour my heart out to him. He was able to pour back into me. And then I go to church for support. And that's kind of how I got through it until I had counseling at a later time.
Wow, amazing. No, thank you for, you know, pouring that out, for being transparent, and for sharing that experience with us. So I'm going to jump the other question. I'll probably leave that towards the last, because I'm excited to know what led to your passion to studying hormones and creating hormone-friendly products.
Yeah, my passion was born out of necessity, because I'd battled with infertility from the age of 21. That's when I had my very first surgery. So I had a cesarean, what's equivalent to a cesarean section at 21, because I had an ovarian cyst the size of a grapefruit on my ovary. It was so big that when I sat down abruptly, I could feel it. Or when I was walking, I could feel this thing shuddering inside my stomach. And you do have larger, I know women who've had even larger cysts than that, but for me, it was horrible. It was painful. And then when I actually went to my GP eventually, because I didn't at first, when I went to GP and they arranged me to have a gynecological appointment and they gave me an ultrasound scan, that's when they identified the cyst, and then they made arrangements to remove it. But what they don't do is they don't tell you the cause of your issue. They just put a plaster on it or take it off, whichever way you want to describe it, until it was the next time. So months later, probably less than a year later, I developed another one. Ovarian cyst this is. So by this point, and they were like, okay, cool, we've given you an ultrasound scan, you've got yet another one, we'll arrange surgery. I was like, whoa, more surgery? Oh, no, we're not going to do that, you know? And then I said to the doctor that I'd seek alternative therapies. I'm going to look for something a bit more holistic, a bit more natural. And what's really interesting, I never forget it, he looked at me like, right, knock yourself out. You know, that kind of like you're a crazy woman because you want to do something natural, you know? But anyway, lo and behold, I found a Chinese therapist and he gave me acupuncture and some cupping. And he also gave me these awful herbs. They smell so bad. Like when you prepare them, you have to boil them. When I said the whole house stank, it's awful. But anyhow, the doctor had said, you know, go knock yourself out and look into your natural therapies, but I will still book you for your surgery. So it comes to the time when I was meant to have the surgery. This is probably about 8 weeks later. And the treatment out with the Chinese therapist was for 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm in surgery now. I'm actually in the gown on the bed. You know, the gown's open at the back, right? You're laying there. I had a little blanket at the bottom half of me. They lifted up the gown so that they could scan my abdomen. And the consultant there, she's scanning away. And I'm like, it's so weird because I'm laying there, I'm getting impatient. I've got nowhere to be. I'm booked in for surgery. And then she's there scanning. And all of a sudden she goes, oh. So at this point, I'm like, oh gosh, is it like 10 in there now? Like, what's the situation? She eventually says, there's nothing there.
Wow.
Right? I jumped off. I couldn't believe it. I was in so much shock. I jumped off the bed. Completely forgetting, by the way, that the gown's open at the back. So this woman who's sitting here just got a full view of my bum as I'm running out of this room. Where am I going? I don't know. But I was just like, it was the Chinese herbs, you know? But no, jokes aside, it was the real turning point in my life when I realized that actually, if I give my body what it needs, if I give it the nutrients it needs, it will heal itself. That's the way God designed us, right? But I said it to say, I fast track 10 years, and then I've developed fibroids, which many Black women develop, right? Yeah. But by this point, I'm working for a corporate organization. I've got private healthcare, and so I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just go and have surgery, because obviously all they ever offer you is surgery, right? So I had myomectomy surgeries, which is keyhole surgery. They cut incisions on either side of your ovaries, and then through your belly button, so they can kind of see what they're doing, and then they break down the fibroid. They did that. and the fibroid returned. And I did it again, and the fibroid returned. Fibroids, should I say. And I think, I don't know what's wrong with me. I think rather than thinking, Leighsa, you tried natural therapies before and it worked, I was in such a desperate position to get pregnant. I was in a long-term relationship. I wanted to have a baby. And I guess I felt privileged that I had private healthcare. Like I could call them on the Monday, be in surgery by the Thursday, you know? So anyway, by the time I had the third myomectomy, I just decided that I can't do this anymore. My hormones were just whacked. It's just like, nobody was telling me actually what the cause of it was. So I would then began doing my own research to then identify that it's hormone imbalance. You know, one of the cysts that I had ended up with facial hair, hormone imbalance, you know, had inflammation, hormone imbalance. So it's so interesting that the actual, you know, practitioners just wasn't telling me this. But anyhow, that aside, I still decided to go for IVF because I was desperate. I wanted the baby quick. My body clock was ticking. And I had 3 rounds of IVF. But actually, those pregnancies that I had were in between each of those cycles. So I felt pregnant naturally in between each cycle. But yeah, I guess, you know, I got to the end of the IVF. Once I've lost the 2 babies and I'd tried IVF for the last time, I was just over it all. And I was like, you know what, my body can't take anymore. Because even when you do IVF, you're taking hormones, right? So they suppress your hormonal system and then they kind of kickstart it again because they want you to, you know, produce lots of eggs, and you can collect your eggs and then you go for the whole IVF cycle. But it kind of messes you up, you know? And so after I had all that IVF, I just said, you know what, I'm going to go back to the herbs. I'm going to go back to the holistic way of being. I'm going to give my body what it needs naturally. So I did way more research in terms of hormones. I did research around herbs that I could take. And I changed my diet. I changed my lifestyle. I tried the raw food diet for a little while. I lasted 3 days. I was like, oh no, this doesn't work for me. But no, as a woman who never ate red meat anyway, I've never liked it as a child, but I ate chicken and fish. But then I decided to give all of that up and go plant-based. And I actually did see a difference in my hormone balance in terms of my periods were lighter, they were less painful, the inflammation side of my body had gone down. So I knew it was a good thing. I guess the only challenge is when you do go plant-based, you have to be very balanced. But yeah, there's many great herbs out there. And I just began just sharing. When I eventually had the courage to start talking about my story, I began sharing with other women who were like hemorrhaging each month. I was like, we're not supposed to. That's not what, how it's supposed to be. Or they were getting cysts, you know, and I'm like, change your diet, get rid of the dairy. As a Chinese herbalist had told me, dairy is not human consumption. These are all things that just completely disrupt your hormones. But yeah, just to share a bit more, just in terms of what I learned that our environment, you know, I mentioned personal care products and things. What we put on our skin goes into our bloodstream. So if you put in perfumes and toxic products on your skin, it's going directly into your bloodstream, impacting your thyroid and just putting your hormones out of whack. And so I decided to just look for clean beauty, couldn't find any, decided to just to be clean altogether. So change, like as I said, change my lifestyle, started exercising, you know, taking all my nutrients and just try to reduce my toxic load in terms of, you know, not using plastic containers and just things like that really help balance the hormones, because people don't realize it, but a lot of it is, you know, some of it's our diet, yes, but a lot of it is our external lifestyle or what we're exposed to externally that impacts hormone balance.
Yes, that's very interesting because, you know, I find it interesting. Today's 1 year to the date that I was actually discharged from the hospital after going through major surgery as a result of endometriosis. That's why this topic is so dear to my heart, because like I literally, when I was first diagnosed with endometriosis back in March 2023, I remembered like how you were talking about how the nurses behaved with you just a bit, you know, I was just told, oh, it's natural, you get over it when you have a child. And I just remembered pushing, and they were just trying to throw the ultrasound on me, like, oh, just have an ultrasound. And I remembered having the ultrasound and nothing showed. And obviously worked in government, you know, specifically in the health part, you know, the regular within government. So I immediately remember the jargon, amongst the fellow CEOs and scientists. And I was like, I demand the MRI scan. And so when they gave me the MRI scan, that's when they saw, the endometriosis and adenomyosis. Bringing this up, I think it's such an important conversation to have, especially within the church, because a lot of women in the church, as I go across ministries and preach and teach and whatever, when I tell my testimony, I come into contact with so many women that are saying, I'm dealing with this, but I don't even know how to go about it. And so the same as how you did your research, you started taking herbs. I know for me, March 2023 till now, I have been doing so much research on. I mean, I'm still, the Lord needs to deliver me. There's some things I'm like still struggling to let go, but I've seen a major difference in my health. So if you don't mind, I know I kind of just went a bit long-winded talking about because your story kind of touched me as well, to share a bit of mine. Like, you have been very open in terms of what you have done, but in terms of like where can women who are listening or who will listen to the replay, where can they get herbs? Because I know you mentioned like the Chinese herbs. Is it any Chinese shop, or is there a specific shop they can go to?
Yeah, so I think for me that there are different types. There's how can I describe it? It's almost you probably many people have heard of TCM, like the Chinese medicine, right? Yes. And my impression of that is you've got the authentic, and then you've got the TCM, right? So the herbs that I went to was the authentic one, like very strong Chinese accent, not very much English, where that they've studied it for, it's gone past that in the family. That's the kind of therapist you're really looking for, because I find that the TCM is almost like a watered down version, all right? But what's really good with those guys is that when you go to see them, they can assess you from your tongue. Your tongue tells a million stories in terms of how your liver's functioning, how your organs are functioning, and so they'll assess your tongue and then they'll go from there. I definitely think having acupuncture alongside the herbs and the cupping definitely worked for me. And I've actually had Chinese treatment for other areas as well, and other ailments as well. But I think there's a lot to be said around just your lifestyle. People know if you're consuming high, amounts of sugar in your diet, I think these are all inflammatory foods, right? So sugar, alcohol, dairies, things like that. People are like, oh, I don't want to change it. I don't want to. But it's up to you. Do you want to suffer or don't you? Because there's certain foods are just not meant for our bodies. And I think, yes, I did go quite strict at first. Yes. And do I think sustainable? Probably not. I think if you are going to make lifestyle changes, I would probably do it in increments. All right. Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think it's much more sustainable if you eliminate certain things from your diet first. Definitely stop using toxins on your hair, because what you put onto your scalp also is going to go directly into your bloodstream. So for Black women particularly, relaxers are one of the key things that causes fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, those hormone-related illnesses. So it's definitely what we ingest, what we put on our skin, and what we expose ourselves to. I remember back in the day when I'm a bit of a, I don't say clean freak. I find cleaning therapeutic. Cleaning my own house, not other people's homes, by the way. People say, when you say to someone I enjoy cleaning, they say, yeah, sure, come over to me.
Only clean mine. Yeah, I've seen that.
Come to mine. No. But no, I enjoy cleaning, and I'd often have my bare hands in cleaning solutions, bleaches, and things like that. And these things are all going into my bloodstream. Your liver can only do so much, because our liver will expel excess hormones as well. So if you think you've got toxins going through your liver, excess hormones going through your liver, if you're not exercising, you're not sweating any of the toxins out, your poor liver can only do so much, as I said. So you find that these toxins and excess hormones remain in the body. And so when you have too much estrogen, which is the growth hormone, so to speak, it's the hormone that we have at the beginning of our cycles. It makes the lining of our womb kind of fatten up and get ready for, receiving the fertilized egg. It just, whatever's in your body, you're just going to grow. So if that's a cyst, that's going to grow. Do you know what I mean? A polyp, that's going to grow, because you just got far too much estrogen in your body. And so the aim is to really balance our hormones. And it's not easy, because nowadays as well, if you think about it, cortisol is also a hormone. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So people go to the gym and they work in the gym for X number of hours, and you're just putting your body under stress. So you might think you're being healthy, but actually it's too much cortisol.
You know, I love the fact that you said that. And just to warn you, I hope you trust me because we've completely gone off the questions that I sent to you. But
That's okay.
in line, because this is very interesting, because people say to me, I mean, I used to go to the gym. I was at the gym, I think 2 years ago, I would be at the gym at least, I don't want to lie, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I used to beat myself up for not going more. And I would go like swimming, I'd be on the machines. But I remembered I was very stressed. And then the weight that I was trying to shift, I wasn't shifting it. And I was like, something is wrong here. I changed my diet. And then it's when I started researching again about this cortisol. So then when I stopped going to the gym, and I think I just kind of reduced myself to swimming, found something quite therapeutic. I wasn't as stressed when I went swimming, and I just started to see the weight loss. It just came suddenly. People were like, oh my God, you're losing so much weight. And I thought all that time I was in the gym for at least a year, just on the machine, the treadmill and all the other, you know, I don't know the name of all the other equipment, but I found myself, it's almost like I was gaining more weight. So yeah, a little bit more about that. If you can, you know, the cortisol, and how can, as women, how can we manage that? Because I know as well, when we work hard, especially for the corporate woman out there, you know, how that affects, you know, the hormonal balance. And
well, so it's like you say, I think one of the things on the first day is that if you are going to go to the gym, you are one of these people that like to go, you know, frequently, I'd kind of probably say like 45 minutes around that kind of time is probably enough for your body. But then also as well is change it up. Don't go in and do those weights and all sorts every single day. You can do Pilates, you can walk, you can swim, you can do all different things. I tend not to swim too much just because, and it might just be my own mindset, but I just feel like the chlorine in the water is a toxin, right? So if I submerge myself in chlorine, then that's going to go straight into my bloodstream. So that's the reason why I choose not to swim in pools anyway. But I think it's really important for us just to find ways to just de-stress. You know, we can drink teas, the basics. You've got chamomile, all those things that we can drink. If we're getting a good night's sleep, what people don't realize is most of our health challenges is based on the lack of sleep. So what happens is around 9 o'clock we start feeling a bit sleepy, and that's when we have the melatonin. We produce melatonin. So serotonin is the hormone that we produce in the day. It's a hormone that kind of wakes us up and, you know, gives us that vitality. And then in the evening we produce melatonin, and that's a hormone that helps us to kind of go to sleep. But what most of us do is we push through that melatonin at 9 o'clock. We're on our phones, our devices, which emit blue light. It then wakes our brain up because it's, you know, you're looking at this light, and then your body becomes confused because your body's now seeing this what it thinks is daylight, and it's like, okay, cool, let's produce serotonin, you know. And that's why we find, you might have noticed that when you're on your phone, you can be on your phone, you can go to bed at 9 o'clock and be on your phone till 1 a.m. in the morning because your brain is so awake and alert. It's not because of the interesting content, it's because your brain seeing this blue emitted light. So we have to make lifestyle changes. We have to, you know, an hour before we go to bed, cut, you know, technology, do things. And if we are someone that struggles to go to sleep, just do things that we know that's going to help. You know, you can have a hot bath, a hot shower, you can use essential oils, you can read things that we know that's going to help our brain just to kind of slow down and help us to sleep. So I think, you know, and be intentional, like assign a certain day a week. I try to make sure that for me, Sunday is self-care Sunday. You know, the day that I try to be intentional about doing something for me and making sure that I'm slowing down and making sure that I'm having fun and just not going, you know, continuously throughout the week, just working, you know? Yeah.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And I love the fact that you included practical things that we can do, because I will be the first to say it. I don't know why my brain seems to come alive at around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I start to feel tired. Like I'll be at work all day, and around 5ish, I'm like, okay, it's time to go home. I'm tired. But then I've come and boom, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, my mind's like, what are we gonna do now? And I'm like, why are we feeling this? We're supposed to be, you know, getting ready for bed. And it's just something, I think, you know, obviously in my time of recovery throughout last year, I started to master going to bed a little bit earlier. But then I think I've kind of, you know, be honest, being transparent on here a little bit, that I have fallen back into bad habits. But I have been telling myself we have to start going back to bed, because I have seen the difference. mind, I'm more alert when I go to bed early. And I've noticed even weight loss just comes naturally. Like I don't have to be intentional with diet or doing anything, but when I go to bed early, like, the stomach is flatter than normal. I'm like, okay, now. So you are right. A good night's sleep is very...
it's so important. It's the time that we heal, right? And I think, and don't get me wrong, I too am partial to a late night. Like I kick myself because I know that it's going to completely, impact me in a whole way. But even if we eat late at night, where instead of our body being in the mode where it should be healing, we're now digesting. So it can only do so much, right? So yeah, it's just, it's not great. Sleep is actually a really great thing. It's really, really helpful for our health.
Amazing. Now I'm going through my questions, and I feel like you've answered the majority, not say the majority, but the few couple that I had after that last question I asked you. It was just so wonderfully broken down. But there was something else I wanted to ask you. You've said it already, kind of, but I want to go back to that. So with everything that you experience, with, the fertility issues and the medicine you had, like, how did you navigate? I know you said like you went to, the Chinese, doctor and all of that, you had the herbs, but like, what were the steps that you took in terms of navigating, the hormonal imbalance and all the side effects issues associated with it?
I think it took a while because, I'd done, as I mentioned, I'd had all the surgeries, multiple surgeries. So I had, like, as I mentioned, open surgery for the cyst, 3 myomectomies. I even had one of my fallopian tubes removed because of the IVF. They said to me, in order for the IVF to work, we need you to remove one of your fallopian tubes because it's inflamed. Now, we know inflammation is something we can heal, right? But at the time, through desperation, I would have cut my right arm off just having had a baby. And so I just did the most. And so, so having done that and done the IVF and having tried all of the conventional ways, I had many investigations as well. I had all these tests where they put, probes into your vagina and you fill in the bill to see whether or not your tubes are open, whether or not their potency, they're open, and see whether your ovaries are doing what they're meant to be doing. And all these things just kind of came on top. It really just, I do believe strongly that it was that actual investigation, the last fill and spill, that caused my cervix to be incompetent being that it opens at a certain time. So I would definitely say to women, if you are doing investigations, only go for what you need, and really ask lots of questions, ask your consultant lots of questions before you actually go ahead and do anything, because sometimes you just don't need them, and it can be detrimental. Because even when I'm probably going off piece a bit here, but I want to just share with women who are going for myomectomy surgeries or any surgery. When you have a surgery, it can cause adhesions, and adhesions are like, I can only describe them as when Spider-Man spins his web, all right? And if you can imagine it squirts out and it attaches to something, right? Adhesions are very similar to that. I had multiple experiences of having adhesions, but one in particular where my bowel was fused to my womb, my uterus, through adhesions. And that's just purely because they go in and rupture around. So, if you are in a position to take the time to give your body what it needs to naturally heal itself, then I would definitely advocate for that versus, I wouldn't tell anyone not to have surgery, but just think about it before you do. But so just staying on track in terms of your question. How did I navigate my health issues? After doing all these surgeries and other bits and bobs and recognizing the impact it had on me, I sought my natural options. Like I said, I changed my diet, my lifestyle. What else did I do? I was very intentional about focusing on reducing my stress, very intentional about that. Because what you find as well as women is when we stress in our womb area. I don't know if you have like I can't describe the word. It's almost like butterflies, but almost like it's just a stress. You just feel tense in your womb area. And often many of us have jobs where we're sedentary, so we're sitting down all day, and we've just got this stagnant space. Blood is stagnant, the flow is stagnant, And then we wonder why, and then we're stressed. We wonder why we have fibroids, right? Because fibroids, and one of the key causes of fibroids and all the other inflammation issues is stress.
Yes, it is.
Right? So stress hormone imbalance. So we're crunched over at our desk. We're working super, super hard, doing longer hours than we need to be doing. And that is one of the key causes of, a lot of the problems that we incur. So, yeah, I guess other than taking the herbs, other than taking time out, other than, breathing was a good one. So, yeah, believe it or not, even just laying on the floor with your butt against the wall, with your legs up, and just deep breathing, that is an amazing way to support your stress levels and kind of get the blood going. Yes. Yeah, I think that's really it. It was diet, it was lifestyle changes, just doing things differently, getting off that train one stop earlier so I could walk to work to kind of get the blood going and get some fresh air in. Often, if you work from home, you find you're indoors all day, it's stagnant. We need fresh air, we need vitamin D, particularly as people of color. And what people don't recognize is vitamin D is actually, it's a hormone. It's called sulfate. So anything that ends in O is a hormone. And vitamin D is one of the key things in terms of it helps us to, produce the right hormones and metabolize and all that kind of stuff. So I'm rambling on now.
No, you're not, because you've just touched. See, the questions are out the window. I'm just going to warn you now, because you just. So last year, obviously, having my various, having the surgery, then a couple months later, I was rushed back into hospital, and they found another issue. And I thought, okay. And they were like, we're going to have to do another surgery. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm too busy. I got way too much things to do. I've got purpose and I don't have time for this. So I felt the Lord leading me to do research. And one of the things, so number one, I found at the root of my issue, because I put my business out there about endometriosis and adenomyosis, and thankfully the surgery was successful. That whole adhesion thing you're talking about, where everything was fusing, that's what they discovered when they went inside. I mean, they're still talking about, they're still asking questions.
Yeah.
How on earth were you able to function with how your insides looked? But the point is, I recognized that the root of my issue was estrogen dominance.
Yes.
And then, being the geek that I am, I then started, I said, okay, it's not enough. Okay, estrogen dominance. Then I found that vitamin D3 was found to be effective in curing fibroids. Like many women who started taking vitamin D3, they actually were able to shrunk their fibroids to nothing. Some actually completely dissipated. And then I started realizing that the link to estrogen dominance, it's linked to the liver. You already said that earlier. Linked to the liver. So I then, being a geek, started researching and found that dandelion root and fennel seeds were good to detox the liver, which will then in turn, help to balance the hormones. So I've been on that since last year. I would say end of October till now. Every couple of times a week I've been drinking that, and I've seen that. I have seen the difference. So so I just my brain just started getting excited when you said vitamin.
Yeah, no, there are so many herbs. So, I mean, I've tried and tested pretty much all of them. Yes. I think one of my faves, if I think about it, is nettle tea. Yes. For people who have challenging periods, that painful period, nettle tea, because often as well, when we bleed heavily, sometimes it can be that we're actually iron deficient as well. Yeah. And the less iron you have is the more you bleed. Really enough. Yeah, so nettle tea is one of those great sources of getting iron in, and it's these herbs that we're speaking about. Take them like a minimum of a week before you're due to have your period, because that's when you will find that they will support you. You'll have less pain, you'll have lighter periods. Red raspberry leaf is great, clover, cleavers. For people that have, really, really bad period pain, cramp bark. Was it cramp bark or bark cramp? Hang on, wait. God, my brain. But there's, I should probably produce a list of them. But there are so many herbs, and I would definitely recommend. And I know people say, yeah, but they're not working quick enough. Well, that issue that you have didn't develop overnight. The fibroids that you have didn't come about overnight, right? So if you're in a position that you've got time, just give your body what it needs. Flood it with nutrients. I love sea moss. Sea moss is great. 92 of the 102 nutrients that we have in our body. There's so many.
Amazing. I'm so glad you said CMOS here. I've been on CMOS since 2020. And it's so funny, before I got that diagnosis, because obviously we're women of faith. So I just felt like the Holy Spirit was already dealing with me about my diet from 2020. So I started incorporating some of these supplements. So by the time I got to the stage of being diagnosed with this, I was already on a strict diet. And so just to share a little, something that I thought was quite interesting. So last year when I had the surgery, as I said, the 31st of March was when they released me out of the hospital. So it's exactly 1 year to this day. And I remembered it was a keyhole surgery, and it was like a week after. I was a bit worried about how one of the sites looked. So, knowing now what they saw, they made me come back into the doctor's surgery. And when they removed the bandages, he looked at me and he said, "You had a surgery a week ago?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "No way." I said, "I did. Look."
Really? Your healing, was that good?
Yeah. He said, "What are you doing? Because the sites, they're completely healed. Like there was nothing. It was so healed." And I remembered, it's just so interesting. And now I know that this broadcast, there are people that don't believe in God that will probably watch this, but I'm talking just for now to those who have that experience with the Holy Spirit and know God for yourself. Like there are times when God will say things to you, and already this broadcast has kind of gone another way, but I know that the Lord is in control, because I didn't today, and I knew he was going to take it over. I just want to encourage you that sometimes the Lord will tell you something, do it. Just be obedient. I think these couple of broadcasts that I've done throughout this month, everyone has spoken about obedience. So I kind of just want to put it in here, because this whole process leading up to the diagnosis, even throughout the surgery, being in the hospital, the Lord was very specific to me about what I should be eating. And I remember at the hospital, all he kept saying was, eat lots of apples, drink lots of apple juice. When I obviously did my research in apples, that's good at protecting you from infections.
Green apples, yeah.
Yeah. And then when I came out, the Holy Spirit whispered in my ear and says, "I want you to follow the Mediterranean diet." So that's what I did that first week. So then when I went back to the doctors, and he says, I've been doing this for so long. I've never experienced a patient who's had surgery for 1 week and everything is just healed up so perfectly. And he literally sent me home without the bandages. These. So yeah, I just thought I'll just kind of put that in there, just on the back of, you talking about the different food items. But then there's something else I want to touch, because now you've got my brain firing up. You spoke about stress.
Yeah.
Because one of the questions I had, and my iPad has closed on me, so let me open it up. I spoke about, because already our interview has kind of gone a bit, out of the bag. So
that's okay.
Great. So then I spoke about I asked the spontaneous question, how was your issues, your hormone issues with your hormonal health? How has it affected your faith and relationships? But before you answer that, you spoke about stress. And I wanted to kind of highlight the importance of even women in relationships, because I'm just going to be transparent. I noticed a lot of my symptoms came around, and again, this is not me being, what's that word, facetious, when I'm saying this, because I know maybe they might see this video, and I promise there's no hurt, there's no anger. I have forgiven you if you watch this. But I noticed that some of these issues started when I entered committed relationships. So, how?
Well, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so like with women, like, how can they be more aware? Like for me, I've been saying, even to women who I counsel, like, okay, this symptom started, when you started dating brother man. So what's going on there? Could it be the stress in that relationship? So yeah, without me going any, let me ask that question. Like, what would you say?
It's such a big question, because I too had similar situations. And I think, I think part and parcel of it is, right, I don't think there's going to be ever this perfect relationship out there, right? However, a lot of it is to do with communication. The stresses that we have, I feel now, having gone through a divorce and been in long-term relationships, I feel that it's communication. Because, yes, okay, when I was going through my infertility and things, I was transparent with my partner. He knew that I had infertility challenges, but I don't think I was expressive enough in terms of its degree, how it was impacting my mental health. And so as women, we go through these things, we have these emotional fluctuations, and we're not sharing with them.
Yeah.
So 1 minute we're fine, the next minute we're not, and they have no clue as to what we're going through.
Yes.
You know. And I'm not trying to defend the guys here, but I'm just trying to keep it real, right? We go through these situations, we're not communicative, we're not sharing. We want our men to see us as these perfect beings, you know, and particularly as, you know, women. Yeah, for me, it was so important to just be seen as not perfect, but as, you know, a whole, complete woman, right?
Yeah.
And so by me not sharing, I suppressed all these worries, these concerns, these feelings. And then, you know, having internalized it all, I'm now stressed. So now, because he's not supporting me in the way that I feel I need to be supported, because he hasn't got the full understanding as to where I'm at, I'm stressed. Now, don't get me wrong, not all guys are interested, right?
Yes.
But for the few guys that are interested, I really want to implore the women just to be transparent, be vulnerable, because vulnerability is my word of this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's only by doing so that you don't have to be this strong being, not all the time anyway. And I remember saying to people, no one offers me the help. No one, I don't give them an opportunity to. If I'm not vulnerable to them in the very first place, one, how are they going to know what I need? And two, if I keep giving the impression that everything's okay, do you know what I mean? So I know I'm probably kind of going a bit off piece here, but I think relationships it's important for both parties to be aware. And also as well, when it concerns hormonal imbalances, it happens to men too.
Yes.
It's not just women. You know, men have signs of hormone imbalance. Men that have moobs, that's a hormone imbalance. You have way too much estrogen in your body. So if it's impacting you in that way, imagine how your overall hormone system must be, you know? So I do definitely feel that there's, you know, opportunity for men and women to be very transparent about their reproductive health, transparent about how they're feeling, get the support that you need, you know, and don't allow the doctors to kind of say, as I did, everything's fine, don't worry about it. Or, you know, you've got a small fibroid. And I say, what's a small fibroid? And they say, 5 centimeters. Well, how's that small? If it was out of my neck, would 5 centimeters be small? So why is a 5 centimeter mass in my womb small? Like, what I'm trying to say is challenge.
Yes.
Challenge. I know certain cultures are perceived to be aggressive. Don't worry about it. Challenge.
Yes, that's good.
Until you get what you want, because we have the Holy Spirit in us. Some people might call it an innate feeling. For me now that I understand it's the Holy Spirit, and He tells us things. You know, He tells us what's not quite right. If you know something's not right, it's because He told you. Get it addressed and get it need to.
Wow, so good. So good. Thank you so much, Leighsa Kelly. So we are winding down. I almost wanted to throw a curveball, but you can give me the side eye. You can tell me off.
No, go for it.
Include this. But the Holy Spirit just said, ask her about that. So I have been hearing, because again, the geek in me, since all of this has happened with me, I am learning that there are different phases in a woman's cycle. So how you eat, you know, how you know, your diet, you know, you spoke about it all, you know, sleep, you know, how you know, your time you go to bed and all of that, it matters in those certain types of phases. So I'll just kind of say it, you know, out, and then I'll ask the question. There's obviously the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. Like, what is your experience around those different phases? Like, you know, how do you navigate those phases? Because sometimes, as I know with me, especially before I knew what was really happening to me, my emotions were all over the place. So 1 week I'm like really happy and confident and ready to just go forth, and then another time I'm just angry at the world. I'm just like mad. Fight. I don't know what is wrong with you. And then, you know, I'm not going to put out all my business out there, but brother man said to me, you know what, kind of notice you're a bit like this when, you know, when you just had your cycle, like a week later, you're just a bit like this. And I was like, oh yeah. So it's now when I know about the phases, I was like, okay, I need to watch out for that. So like, how do you navigate that?
Do you know what? And I can't remember exactly the days as in the timeline, but we're like seasons, like you know, you get spring, summer, winter, fall, right? That's how a woman is. So like in the first, like up to like the first 10 days, so let's say from day 2 to day 12, that's like your ideal time. I think if a guy's got any kind of challenging topics you want to discuss, that's when we're all good. Like, speak to us during that time, right? Beyond that, we are the emotional wreck. Do you know what I mean? We see things differently, we feel differently, our energy is different. It's like even when you go to the gym, they say you should only do so, like, even jumping about a bit now, but you should do exercises during certain parts of your cycle. You should go for interviews during certain parts of your cycle. You should rest during certain parts of your cycle, and it's literally based on the seasons. And there's also you can actually if you think your cycle's imbalanced, you can actually use seeds to cycle to bring your cycle back into equilibrium, so to speak, right? And this is really testing the brain now, but it was oh god, just gone out my brain. See all the different seeds. Oh, literally, what I was going to say, it just literally just disappeared. But anyway, we have our chia seeds, we have our sunflower seeds, we have, what's the green ones again?
The pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds, that's it, yeah.
You're taking those, yes.
Are you taking those? Yeah. So, but even still, they should only be taken at certain points in your cycle. You don't take pumpkin seeds throughout the whole entire thing.
Oh,
that's yeah. So it's pumpkin seeds, it's the sunflower seeds, it's chia seeds, and there's one more seed as well. I can't recall now.
It's in my cupboard. Come back to me now.
Yes.
Flaxseed, linseed.
Yes, flax seeds. Yes. But again, we have a habit of just putting these seeds and just dumping them into our smoothies, and we just take them continuously. But that's not how it's supposed to be.
Really?
We're not meant to take it like that. Yeah. It's called seed cycling. Like, everyone look it up.
I've seen that. And apparently it helps to balance the progesterone levels. I did that research 2 years ago. I remember that now. Wow.
Yeah. I know, right? You and I both some time ago. What else is there in terms of cycle? So yeah, there's definitely there's a good book I read as well. I now want to come back into something you flow. American lady. Her name was
Mindy Phelps by any chance? Mindy Phelps?
No, her surname was Bitty, and Bitti. Okay. And she breaks it down like in terms of how to hack your cycle.
Interesting.
Right? Absolutely phenomenal book. Wow. But no, she really breaks it down in terms of when to do certain things. As I've said as well, how to do it, what to eat, when to eat it, and what not to do. Yeah. Okay. Wow. It will come to me. It's going to wind me up.
Let's come back after. I can always put the details in the description because I can always edit this and put it in.
So good. Yeah, it's a phenomenal book, and I think all women should read it. But yeah, and I think mainly just to touch on that point is just to recognize that for women who do recognize the fluctuations in their cycle, you're not crazy. When you're angered and you just want to rip someone's head off, you're not. It's just your cycle. There's certain times that you're meant to be alone in your own space, spending time with God. It's perfectly natural, perfectly normal for you to feel like that. But then there are food types and things that we can do that will make those symptoms worse, that will exasperate them. All right. So if we're going to be drinking alcohol, that's going to exasperate your hormone fluctuations. If you are menopausal and you drink alcohol, you're going to have more hot flushes, Yes. So, yeah.
Wow. Leighsa, Kelly, this has been an amazing interview. We're winding down to the end now. I know I stretched you. I have to be honest.
No, that's fine. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, likewise, because most of the questions I, asked you towards the end was not in the prep. So thank you so much for all the information. I feel like, women, when they watch those who have watched live, I can't see comments at the moment, but those who will watch the replay, they will have a lot of information because I'm very big on this year practicality. Like, I'm all about having faith and living that Christian life. But I always say to people, I'm not just a spiritual Christian, but there must be practicality, and that's what you provided for the women tonight. So thank you so much. So in closing, if you could think of one word or phrase to leave with the woman watching this live or who will watch the replay, what would it be?
One word, it would be, I have to think about this actually. I think it will be stewardship.
Yeah, love that.
It'll be stewardship because I feel like, you know, as women, we are responsible for stewarding our mental health, our physical well-being, our what's another word I want to use? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I just feel like God has given us this beautiful vessel as women, and we are powerful. We may not be as physically strong as men are, but we are emotionally strong for the most part. But in order to be emotionally strong, we have to nurture ourselves. And so we need to give ourselves what we need, whether that's time, spiritual support, time, you know, healthy relationship, healthy lifestyle. So I think, yeah, we are stewards of our selves, of our well-being. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time, Leighsa Kelly. So how can the people reach you if they want, you know, based on what you've spoken about tonight? You're very knowledgeable. You've shared so many facts. So how can the people reach you?
Sure. So I have my skincare brand. I have a website. So that's Leighsa Mari, and Leighsa is spelled as it is on screen, Leighsa, Marie.com. That's where you can find all of my natural products. And I have a range of body butters and castor oil packs, because castor oil is just awesome for inflammation, and it's supportive to a lot of the hormonal issues that we spoke about. And I have foot oils, all the things you kind of need to help calm you down, relax. So I have that on my website. I also have an Instagram page, which is Leighsa Mari _skincare, and I'm also at Leighsa Mari as well. I will be posting onto my Instagram page some of the workshops and masterminds that I have coming up. God has impressed it upon my heart to use my pain for purpose. And in doing so, as I've mentioned, that includes sharing my story, but also my experiences and what I've learned along the way. And so I will be doing workshops around preparing people for IVF, those that want to go for it, just the things you need to know before you go for it. Also, a workshop around just overall well-being and hormonal health, just a bit more detail, or far more detail than what we shared today. And also, I'll be doing some in-person skincare making workshops, so that I can support and educate people around, you know, how to eliminate certain toxins from their, or toxic products from their skincare regimes, and then how to create natural skincare products.
Wow, amazing. I know I'm going to be taking part in your workshop.
I forgot one. Sorry. The ICU community that I mentioned. I would love both men and women. Feel free to find it. It's on Facebook. It's IC as in SEE and then U. That is only a space for people who want to speak about reproductive health challenges or miscarriage or baby loss. The people that are in the group already have lived experiences, including myself, so you'll get the support you need. You may well want to support somebody else, or you may just want to join to learn more. So please come and join a safe space, and let's talk all those things.
Wow, amazing. No, thank you so much, Leighsa Kelly. Guys, I know that you've all been blessed, because I have. I'm going to come back and watch the replay, because Leighsa Kelly, you have taught me so much. There's so much that I still don't know, and you've taught me a lot. So thank you so much for your time. And I want to thank everyone else who was taking the time to watch the live from Facebook. If you're on Facebook, I've not been able to see your comments, but I will respond when I go back to watch the replay. For those who joined on YouTube, or if you will join the replay, thank you. Instagram, I can see a few people are on live. So thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to me, you know where you can find me. Dahna-Esther Fearon on YouTube, Dahna-Esther Fearon on Facebook, at Dahna-Esther on Instagram. So until we meet again, thank you so much for tuning in. And this is the last segment of the International Women's Month, I would say, series. So again, Leighsa Kelly, thank you so much for being a part of this vision. God bless you all.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.